Editing Nikki here, and welcome to the Traumatized and the Abandoned podcast. Sorry, we didn't plan for this episode to be a two-parter, but here we are. So we hope you enjoy our part 2 of the Gypsy Rose story.
Your turn.
So we'll talk about that later.
Yep.
Obviously, the June 14th Facebook post on Dee Dee and Gypsy shared on Facebook.
Oh, that they did share. I didn't mention that. Yes.
So they did share.
Mm-hmm.
Were quite alarming. Friends and family immediately started to contact both of them to no avail. So they started calling, they started going over there. They went to the house, found Dee Dee's vehicle still in the driveway, which was very alarming. If they had just like taken off on a medical trip, you know, the vehicle would not be there. Obviously, when no one answered the door, they called 911. When police arrived, they kind of had to wait for a search warrant. They couldn't just like barge in there, unlike the TV shows.
I thought they could if they were concerned about someone's well-being, like a welfare check or something. I thought you could.
You had to have permission. Like,
oh, and obviously nobody. I got you. Okay.
Yeah. But anyways, yeah, so they need permission or they need a search warrant.
Okay.
However, they did allow one of the neighbors to, you know, see if he could enter the house. He did. And that's where the neighbors saw that inside the house, it was largely undisturbed and that Gypsy's wheelchairs, like she had 3 of them, were all still in the house. So that was very concerning.
Right.
However, he did not see the body, which I'm like, okay. I guess he wasn't like looking too hard.
Well, I mean, if you don't go into did he go into the bedroom? Was it dark in the bedroom? Maybe the blankets were red, so it blended in. I don't know.
and I think they had turned down the thermostat or something, so there wasn't really a smell, maybe. I don't know.
I do remember hearing that.
So when the warrant was issued, the police entered the house, obviously, and they found Dee Dee's body.
Mm-hmm.
The autopsy took place on June 15th, 2015. The process involved a comprehensive assessment of her body, both externally and internally, to determine the cause and manner of her death.
Mm-hmm.
During the autopsy, a disturbing and gruesome set of findings emerged. Dee Dee Blanchard's body bore multiple stab wounds, concentrated predominantly on her neck, back, and arms. To the extent and severity of these injuries were alarming, pointing to a violent and brutal assault as the cause of death. I know they make the comment that she was basically almost decapitated. Obviously, everyone who knew the small family were worried what had happened to Gypsy and what condition she would be in without all of her like medical supplies and needs. Gypsy's friend / neighbor, Aaliyah Woodmansey, who was among those gathered, mentioned to the police that she had private chats, and this is the friend that you were talking about earlier. And in those chats, Gypsy had revealed the secret boyfriend, like we know already. But this is the point where she shows them to the police, and actually in those printouts was the name of her so-and-so boyfriend.
Oh, there he is.
So based on that information, the police asked Facebook to trace an IP address from which the posts to Dee Dee's account had been made.
Sorry.
It turned out to be in Wisconsin. The next day, police agencies in Waukesha County assisted by raiding the home of Stephanie Goldhammer and Charles Goldhammer, where Nicholas Godejohn lived with his mom and stepdad, like you had said. There was a small standoff, but Nick quickly surrendered. A search of the home was conducted and discovered the $4,000 cash, like you had said, and also the murder weapon that they had mailed to themselves but did not get rid of.
Again, just stupid. I
think because they're young. I mean, what young person's gonna pull off a perfectly planned murder?
Throw it in the river! Sorry, I'm not telling you how to get away with murder. I'm just saying, like...
They also found a gold ring, laptop computers, cell phones, letters Godejohn and Gypsy wrote to one another, stained clothing, 3 wigs, and a large manila envelope in which the knife had been mailed in. well, the authorities believed
Yeah.
that the knife had been mailed in.
Yep.
So going into the interrogations just a little bit, both Nick and Gypsy were brought in for questioning, obviously. Something that probably shocked the police was that Gypsy could walk perfectly fine without a wheelchair.
There was no wheelchair.
And in fact, in the press conference the next day, the officer was like, yeah, she can walk. So both were questioned separately, obviously, as they do. And the interrogations were very different. Nick was very forthcoming with information. Just 23 minutes into Nick's interview, he is asked to tell the truth, and he is asked if Gypsy knew that Nick was going to kill her mother, and he confesses Gypsy asked him to. And that is when Nick starts to make the full confession to the murder. Gypsy, however, wasn't very truthful at all for most of her interview. Even on a simple question, like having one of the first questions the police officer asked her was, have you ever used a computer or cellular device like a cell phone? Have you ever played a game or anything? Have you ever used either of these devices? And she says, no. But later goes on to say, I met my boyfriend online dating using her mom's laptop. What? What do you mean?
No.
Even the police officer was like, wait, what? And this is where the whole pencil and paper metaphor thing came in for like 30 minutes. Don't watch it.
Oh my God. We were playing Apex last night asking for a pep talk, and this bitch starts talking about pencils and papers and erasers, and I'm like, what?
Rewriting your history. That is not the truth. And oh my gosh, like,
so bad.
One thing I did catch that isn't in the clips that I clipped for us to react to, but one comment I found very interesting. This is before the police officer has even notified her of her mother. She made a comment stating to the effect, I don't think this is exact words, but mother tended to be overprotected.
Past tense. Oh, past tense.
Right?
Ma'am.
I thought that was crazy. I was like, hold
and
up,
detectives
wait a minute.
pick up on that shit. They do. They're trained to pick up on that shit. You start talking past tense about people. Why are they past tense?
Why are you talking past tense if to your knowledge, she's still, you don't know that she's dead yet.
Unless it's tended because she left her.
I don't know.
Anyway.
I thought that was interesting.
Very.
But either way, after the interrogations, both Nick and Gypsy were charged with first-degree murder. So the trials, we're going to go into Gypsy's first because she copped a plea deal. A year after the arrest in July 2016, Gypsy had accepted a plea deal. So Mike Stanfield, Gypsy Blanchard's attorney, said he was able to uncover decades worth of abuse that D.D. Blanchard inflicted, which we already know. And Gypsy Blanchard as part of an elaborate fraud scheme. The Greene County prosecutor Dan Patterson acknowledged the abusive relationship after offering Blanchard, then 24 years old, a plea agreement that includes only 10 years in prison, the minimum sentence for a second-degree murder charge. So the prosecutor was very understanding in the fact that this was not a normal case he was dealing with. So on July 7th, 2016, Gypsy pled guilty to second-degree murder to serve 10 years. Under this agreement, Gypsy would have had to serve 85% of her sentence before she was considered for parole.
Yep. Okay.
Now, Nick. By the sounds of it, his trial was postponed a couple of times. In January 2017, his trial was postponed when prosecutors requested a second psychiatric exam. His lawyers contend that he has an IQ of 82 and is on the autism spectrum, suggesting that he has diminished capacity. He initially waived his right to a trial by jury, but then changed his mind in June of that year. And in December 2017, the judge set his trial for November 2018. So
almost a year later.
This is almost 2 years after the murder.
Well, I know that,
this
but
is like 3 years after the murder.
Yeah, but they scheduled his. That's crazy. Okay.
So in their opening statement, prosecutors alleged that Nick had deliberated for over a year before the crime. So they had, talked about this for over a year before
it was, oh, what's the word? It was premeditated.
Premeditated, yeah. While his lawyers pointed to his autism and said that Gypsy had formulated the crime and their love-struck client had just done as she had asked. The next day, prosecutors showed jurors the text messages, sometimes sexually explicit, that Gypsy and Nick shared in the week before the murder, often using various personas as well as the knife he had used to commit the murder. In some of the texts, he asked her for details about Dee Dee's room and sleeping habits. These were supplemented by video of his interview with police after his arrest, where he admitted to killing her.
Yep.
Gypsy actually took the stand at Nick's trial. She was called in by the defense.
Interesting.
She testified that the plan to kill Dee Dee was hers because she thought it was the only way out of her life of captivity and abuse. She also testified to the abuse she suffered, her failed escape attempts, and how the relationship with Nick needed to be secret. She did also testify to the fact that she had other plans. Apparently, one of those plans was getting pregnant by Nick, and that way he was be forced to be in their life. Like Dee Dee would have to accept him being in the life. We don't know how accurate that is, though.
Right.
After 4 days, the case was sent to the jury. So a very short trial.
Yep.
Jurors had the option of finding Nick guilty of one of 3 murder charges: involuntary manslaughter, second degree or first degree murder, or obviously not guilty.
I think it was such a short trial because I don't think it was
all the evidence.
It wasn't ever a question of if he killed her. It was a question of like if he is mentally
had the mental capacity.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't think it was probably short because it was like, oh yeah, he confessed to killing her. He knows he killed her. Is he capable of like making those decisions himself? Like I think that was the difference.
Yeah. After approximately 2 hours of deliberation, they returned with the verdict: guilty of first-degree murder and armed criminal action. In February 2019, he was sentenced to life in prison for murder conviction, the only possible option since prosecutors had declined to seek the death penalty.
Okay.
So, Gypsy's prison life. Gypsy served her time at Chillicothe Correctional Center in Chillicothe, Missouri, if I'm saying that wrong. Sorry. Gypsy was quoted saying she had more freedom in prison than she ever had living with her mother.
Damn.
Which, imagine saying that about prison.
But I mean, it's probably fucking true.
Oh yeah, it's 100% true. So when she entered prison, she had found some new passions. She discovered some new passions.
Well, she actually gets to have passions now. Like,
yeah, that's true. She gets to have interests.
Yeah.
So a couple of those interests were photography and cosmetology. She also took part in a program that enabled the animal lover in her to take care of dogs.
Okay.
She took classes to earn her GED. Also in prison, Gypsy met a man named Ryan Anderson who had written her a letter, if I'm not mistaken, on a dare. Like, I dare you to write this person, I'll write this person.
Weird.
She saw that he was from her home state and wrote back, and they began a friendship that became more, and the couple married in June 2022 in a prison ceremony with no guests.
Wow.
Then on September 29th, 2023, the Missouri Department of Corrections confirmed that Gypsy had been granted parole, and she was to be released on December 28th, 2023 after serving 85% of her sentence as per state law. So
I get the cosmetology thing because that was something else like growing up. Like she always wanted to feel pretty. Always wanted to feel like, and because she didn't have her hair. And I can't even imagine maturing as a woman being told you're still a child, so you can't wear makeup. But like seeing everybody else like in your life looking pretty and wearing makeup, wanting that so bad. Like I can definitely see her being like, I want to do that now, you know?
Yeah. So she was released around 3 a.m. to kind of avoid a media frenzy upon her release. Like normally they release 7, 8 in the morning, but her husband, Ryan, was at a nearby hotel basically waiting for this call. And when he got it, he went and picked her up. And family had actually rented like a house for a few days to kind of celebrate, have this time to spend together.
Okay.
Gypsy and Ryan had like a whole set of plans they wanted to do in Kansas City, but unfortunately, they received a call that they must leave the state immediately.
Really?
Yeah, Gypsy had said that her Louisiana parole officer had stated that the few days in Kansas City was fine. She had like called them and said like, hey, this is our plan. Is that okay? He's like, yeah, I don't need to meet with you until this time or whatever.
Yeah.
But the person that called her was the Missouri parole officer, and he did not approve of her staying a couple of days. He's like, you gotta get out of here. And for the most part, it was probably for her safety because of everything with like social media and stuff. But they speculate on the podcast that I listened to. I didn't clip this, but they speculate because Taylor Swift was going to be at the Chiefs game and they were going to the Chiefs game, that there's a conspiracy that they weren't allowed to go to the Chiefs game anymore. So they were like called and like get out of the state. And like, yeah, maybe you should go back and watch that clip of that podcast, because like when they came to that part, I was like, really?
You're not that cool. Like that's no, sorry.
Yeah, so that was funny. But yeah, so basically they had to
get out.
Then in January of 2024, Gypsy began a press tour of sorts. She announced her ebook that was released in January. It's called Released: Conversations on the Eve of Freedom. And also her newest documentary series that aired on Lifetime, The Prison Confessions of Gypsy Rose Blanchard. She appeared on Good Morning America, CNN, The View, The Vile Files, and more.
Many more.
Which brings us to Gypsy Rose and social media / versus social media.
Oh, good Lord.
So
I'm living my best life. No, sorry.
So this is the kind of like the whole frenzy behind this entire thing is what gets me.
Yeah.
Like the whole social media, like everyone was like, oh my God, yes, Gypsy Rose free at last, whatever. Following her release from prison, Gypsy Rose posted her first selfie of freedom on Instagram. The photo received more than 6 million likes. Currently, as of when I wrote this, her Instagram has 8.1 million followers. Just her Instagram.
Wow.
She basically became a social media influencer overnight. And I don't get it. I don't get it because, like, personally, to me, it's like, what if this was Ted Bundy and Ted Bundy was released? Like,
I mean, people love Ted Bundy though.
That's true.
He had like worshippers, like.
But that's what's weird to me.
Yeah.
Like, why do people worship? First of all, why do people worship serial killers? Second of all, why do people worship just a murderer in general?
Yeah. I'm not following her, so.
Well, congrats.
No, I mean, like, I think the fame's going to her head way too much, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah. Which brings to question, what does it say about our society that we are glorifying a convicted murderer? Which I can say because it is true. She was convicted of murder.
Yeah.
But a lot of people were behind Gypsy because of the life that she lived leading up to the murder.
The abuse.
They was very sympathetic towards her.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing her thrive after her traumatic childhood and prison sentence is the kind of happy ending her supporters are rooting for her to have. But just as quickly as Gypsy rose to social media fame, it would come crashing down. About a month later, many admirers who supported Gypsy so hard would turn against her.
Yeah.
Videos would start popping up dissecting the way Gypsy and her husband interacted, how high-pitched her voice becomes at certain points. They would speculate about her marriage or compare her to her mom or compare her husband to her mom. And shortly after her release, people grew tired tired of the endless media interviews promoting her documentary and book. I think she just like overdid it.
Oh, 100%. It definitely got to her head for sure.
Yeah, 100%. I definitely fell into the category of people who grew uncomfortable from the get-go when she instantly earned her influencer status, despite being convicted of a heinous crime, and believed that she was not taking enough proper responsibility of her actions.
Okay.
And obviously the crash of her popularity brought out the haters, because haters gonna hate.
Living my best life.
But Gypsy hasn't been shy about clapping back at them, in one post stating, "Those who choose to stay ignorant about my personal growth as a person and place labels on me do not influence my happiness. Spread love, not hate." Which I understand. I get she's done a lot of work on herself.
But here's the thing. I think this is where we can agree on it. There's a platform and there's a way to use the platform, and you are not using it. Like, you're not using it to spread awareness. You're not using it to help anybody. You're just using it to be popular. You're using your past trauma to increase your popularity, not help others. So
I mean, but I think she does have in one of her bio posts, like, spokesperson, I'm not chosen by proxy or whatever it is, but I don't know if she actually
is doing anything.
In another post, she defended her husband, basically saying, haters gonna hate.
And
I'm not saying you, whatever she said. It's fire though, I guess.
It's fire.
It's fire. But this brings us to the last part of our episode, where I have collected clips that Jess and I have watched separately, and we are going to share our thoughts and opinions and have some healthy discussion / debate, because I think our views on this case are similar, but also at the same time different.
Yeah.
So the first video we watched was Nicholas's police interrogation, which I described earlier. So what was your opinion? Did you want me to say my opinion first, or?
I mean, while we rotate, I'll do my first on this and you could do yours first on that. So I just felt bad for the guy. I just felt so bad for him because he loved her. I think at one point he was like, I don't feel bad that I killed her because I just wanted to make Gypsy safe. I wanted to make sure she felt safe, and then I didn't want to be stressed out or worried about anything because I just really wanted to make her feel safe. I wouldn't have done it if anybody else asked. At one point he said, I truly worship her. And it's just, I just felt so bad for him because and I think, because this is where we differ, I think that it was more, yes, she manipulated him, but I don't know how aware of her consequence. I don't know how aware she was of her consequences of what she was doing. I think it was very short-minded. I think she didn't really have any life experience of knowing, like, okay, murdering people is bad, so you can't get them back and then you're gonna get caught. Like, she didn't really have any consequences in her life other than her mom abusing her. So what's the one way to get out of abuse? I just felt bad. I felt bad for Nick. I really did.
Yeah, so the first two videos were like, his first one was his actual interrogation, and then his next one was in the interview with the killer couples. I agree. I like, even like in the killer couples, which was I think filmed in 2018 or a little bit later, he's still like very much
still loves her.
Like, yeah,
he's like, I'm never gonna get over her. Like, she's crazy, never not gonna be in my mind. Like,
when he describes the days that they were alone together, he's like, those were the happiest days of my life. I've never felt anything like that before. I haven't felt it since. Like, just a whirlwind romance for him. It feels like, I don't think she ever had the same feelings back for him.
I don't either.
I
think she may have liked the idea of him taking care of her, of having, because she wanted attention from men, and I think she liked the idea.
Obvious.
Yeah. But I will 100% agree with you that she manipulated the fuck out of him. I do not disagree with that. What I disagree with is, you think she was very aware of her manipulation. I don't think she knew any better, and I don't think she was aware. I don't know.
Well, then that brings us to Gypsy's interrogation.
It's
the
awful.
third video we watched.
Yep.
I mean, just watching that.
Tell me what you think.
The moment that the police officer is like, your mom's dead. The whole like, whoa, what? Like the acting is so bad. The acting is so bad. It's so bad. It's so bad.
It's so bad. Have you ever straight up just lied because you didn't want to get in trouble?
Yes, and that's what it looks like.
But again, I think that was how she got out of getting in trouble with her mom. Like, I don't think there was when I saw that, I just saw somebody who was extremely scared, so she was just lying her ass off, and very badly.
I saw somebody who was trying to act like they didn't know what happened, but they knew what happened. But they're like, how would somebody act that didn't know this happened? She was like trying to act shocked, but she wasn't shocked because she knew what happened. You know what I'm saying? It was very forced.
I was gonna say, yeah.
And I don't like the way that she'll talk in a normal way, and then when she realizes the interrogator is not believing what she's saying, she goes octave higher and then starts crying.
But again, I think that's what she was taught. I think that's what she reverts back to, what her childlike behavior and crying and to not get in trouble. That's very childlike. Like, you see it as very manipulative and purposeful. So like I said, it's very interesting how we could like see two different things. And like,
so here's the other thing. Here's where I think this is what I see and you don't see. She is planting seeds. She's trying to plant seeds in the detective's head as she's like going through this interview. And what I mean by that is, like, at one point she's like, oh, Nick once mentioned to me that he would do anything for me. And then a little bit later she's like, oh, Nick, doesn't really like police. And like, but she is literally planting seeds to the detective about Nick so that she could put the blame on Nick.
And I don't disagree that she's being manipulated, that she is manipulative. I 100% agree with you. I think she is trying to manipulate the fuck out of the situation. My only thing is, I think that's all she knows.
But like,
and I think I don't disagree with you. I 100% know that she's manipulative and trying to manipulate the situation. My thing is, I don't think she knows any better. That's literally what she was raised up around. She's just doing what. Yeah.
I mean, I understand to the point of, like, if she's like the crying, the higher pitches, I get that. It's like, that's all she knows. The whole the planting of the seeds, the little comments here and there that she peppers in about Nick.
But you don't think she saw her mom do that with doctors, with anybody? She's watched her mom do this for 24 years. How to manipulate people into believing exactly what she wanted them to. I think it was a learned behavior. I don't necessarily. So this is where we disagree. I think it was a learned behavior. I don't think it was something that she was doing. I think
it was learned behavior to a point. To an extent.
Yeah.
To an extent, and then it turns conscious. And that's my issue.
And I think that's our biggest disagreement. I think really the only disagreement, because I don't think she was aware or conscious of what she was doing. She was just doing what. And you think she was. Yeah. So what do you guys think?
What do you guys think?
Be our tiebreaker here. I am also, I will say, I've talked to a couple different people about this. I am 100% the minority here. I am. And I don't know if that is my past trauma trying to relate to someone who I also see was gone through trauma, where it's like, I want to relate to her, so I'm giving her a little bit more leeway. Or I want to see the best in people. Maybe I'm biased. And I will 100% accept that because, and like, I'm not gonna lie, Team Gypsy, it doesn't look good with what she's fucking doing now, which we're gonna talk about, but like, it's not a good look how she's acting now.
Right. So like, another thing that we kind of wanted to discuss on is the difference of the interrogators.
Yes.
See, I think that would be a huge difference in Gypsy's interrogation if we had a different kind of tactic, because I think this investigator went in thinking she has a childlike mind.
Right.
And so he does a lot of the talking. And with somebody who's very manipulative,
you kind of want to let them talk.
Kind of narcissist, you want to let them talk in circles around you. So I kind of wanted to see what she would have done if she was telling her story, and he was just silent, like letting her tell it. I would have loved to have seen how that played out.
100%. If you've been lying about your leukemia and I mean, that's a whole nother thing too. People were really harsh on her because they were like, you tricked us too. You're 20,
Yeah.
you're 22, 23 years old, and you didn't have the wherewithal to go and tell anybody that you could walk. They were still getting donations and shit, and she was well aware that she didn't need all this. To which then I would rebuttal and say, I don't know, how much can you really just blame her mother? Because I truly feel like she had a fear. I don't think she felt like she had any other, there was no other way out. I've had this discussion with people where it's like, okay, if you had a woman who was being physically abused by her husband and to the point where she was traumatized so much, would you blame her if she killed him?
Yes, but
so that's where it gets super fucking gray, because it's like she was the decades of abuse, especially to a child.
I mean, it's how you want to interpret what she says.
Yep.
Her actions. And I haven't watched anything recently on what she said, like I said, but watching Nick's interview, it's just like,
it's heartbreaking. He
really just thought he was doing what was best for the women he loved, which there's no manipulation in his tactics. He's just straight up, I did it. She asked me to, I'd do it again.
So my question, I wrote this down. He got life in prison, right? With no parole.
Right.
Do you think that's fair? She gets 10 years, 8 on good behavior. She only got that. He gets life.
I'm thinking his attorneys did him dirty. He should have got a plea deal too, I think.
I think he should have got a plea deal and been put into a psychiatric.
A mental place. Yeah, I don't, because he had, I mean, Gypsy will say this, he had dark fantasies.
Right.
I mean, okay, somebody could have dark fantasies, but why then would you prey upon those dark fantasies? Why would you,
Yeah.
She not only she saw those dark fantasies and then played into them.
Right.
She would, he has an alter ego. Okay, so I'll make an alter ego for your alter ego. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not normal.
No.
If I was started dating someone online, which I never would, but they said, oh, I have a dark side, I was like, okay, bye, peace out.
Red flag. But did she have any experience knowing that was a red flag? Why would she know that was not normal? Can't talk to her mom about it. She can't talk to her friends about it. How would she know that that's not normal?
I don't think Nick was the first man she talked to, because you said she had 5 different Facebook profiles just to talk to men.
Right, but what if some men like BDSM? What if some men like little girl? You know what I mean? How is she supposed to know that's not appropriate? When all her mom has told her is any relationship is not appropriate. So basically she's like, okay, well, screw that rule.
I mean, this point we really don't know what she knew at that time.
Right.
If she was on computers and phones and stuff, what's to say she wasn't watching TV too? You know what I mean?
That's true.
I was watching TV. I probably wasn't supposed to be at a young age, True Blood, but you know what I mean?
Okay, but did you have fantasies about vampires?
No.
So I don't know.
Yeah, who's to say what she knew or not knew?
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
We done with the interrogations to move on to the.
So I mean, basically with Gypsies, she instantly came out swinging lion, basically blaming
Nick for everything. Nick came out, said she asked me to.
Definitely,
you know what I mean?
Was trying to play the innocent, I'm a little girl act again, even though it wasn't working. So I mean.
And I mean, there's all the messages between them two planning the entire thing. How are you going to say, are you going to sit there to a detective and pretend that you don't know anything that happened or went on? You know what I mean? I just don't get it. No.
But that's what I'm saying. I don't think she planned this far ahead. I don't think she realized there was gonna be any sort of fallout. She was just gonna do this. I mean, her mom and her would steal shit. Nobody would question it. They'd get away with it. Move on. And I think that is what her brain was like, this is what it's gonna be. And so I don't think she really thought oh, I should probably hide my messages. I shouldn't tell somebody to murder somebody over text. We shouldn't post this Facebook post. Nobody could track us. I don't think she thought things through, and I don't know. Anyway.
Anywho, like we said earlier, Gypsy being released from prison, she went on a full-on press tour promoting the new documentary and her book to come. The first video we watched was The View, and the ladies on the show each took turns asking Gypsy some general questions about her story. So, what do you feel about that interview?
I mean, I don't like the person she's portraying. Like, now.
Okay. Right away from that first interview,
right away from the first interview, and just kind of how she's behaving, how she's interacting with people. To me, it does not give victim mentality. It doesn't give victim at all. Doesn't look to me like someone who survives trauma. It looks to me someone who wants like limelight. So that's definitely the vibe I got off the first one and the following. Like, who the fuck goes on The View or Good Morning America? Like, this doesn't make any sense to me. Especially watching those. Like I said, before I watched those, I was very much Team Gypsy. Watching those, like, they are not a good look for her. Like, this is not. And I can understand why there is a plummet in her popularity, especially as these are surfacing. Because you mentioned before, her mannerisms, the way she speaks about it, it's just not that. And if I remember correctly, she throws Nick under the bus again, right? In this first one, she completely blames him again.
So I'm gonna say it right now because I mean I can say it later, but she's definitely rehearsed. She's sat with a publicist and she's rehearsed on how to answer these questions. And the View ladies were very sympathetic towards her. They were very on her side. So I think it was very easy for her to answer those questions. Whereas the Good Morning America interviewer went in hard. She's like shoving pictures of her and her mom in her face. Being like, what do you think of this girl? Of this
little girl? I don't associate with her anymore. And I'm like, that was weird, because it's like, no, that's your past. You should be proud of yourself for surviving that, not turning your back on it, ignoring it like that.
But yeah, she definitely disassociated herself from her past self. Like, that's not me. In the View interview, I got the hugest ick feeling at the last comment, and it's like at the very end where like their like face she makes and everything, and she says like, when people make snide comments that I'm a murderer or something like that. I was just like, ew, what was that face? Do you hate people that call you a murderer?
I mean, who call you exactly what you are. Like, you did murder somebody. Whether it was first or second degree, you were convicted of it. But again, I think that's her disassociating. Now she doesn't even recognize her as her younger self. So she doesn't associate herself as being a murderer. Like, to me, that's not healing. That's not growth. That's just completely in denial that you did something.
Yeah. And also in the Good Morning America, apparently she was addicted to painkillers.
Which, I mean, I could see.
Which obviously is a thing. Like, obviously, because she, I mean,
her mom had her drugged up on so much shit.
What does that mean? So does that mean that she was taking shit separately from what her mom was giving her? You know what I mean?
That's not okay. So I assumed she was addicted to shit because her mom had to be drugging her constantly to have her not, like, she had to be absolutely just drugging the hell out of her. So I kind of assumed she'd be addicted to something. I didn't realize it was painkillers, but but it was weird to me. She was like, "Oh, so were you high the night your mother got murdered?" She was like, "Yes." Like, we're not blaming that though. Like, it was weird. That was really weird for me.
That I thought that was weird too. And then we go to the Vile Files, which I think is like a podcast.
It definitely had I think so.
Podcast vibes. But we watched the YouTube video of that. Definitely still rehearsed, but I feel like she was a lot more comfortable in this podcast to speak a lot more, because she still distanced herself from the crime, and I think that's the issue you started seeing and having, is that people are saying, and she's saying, "Oh, I'm taking responsibility," but at the same time she's
literally
like,
no responsibility is fake.
I'm not a murderer,
right?
I'm an accessory to murder, and that's not a thing, babe.
No,
I mean,
so
it's a
to
thing.
context,
It's a thing.
context. So in the podcast, she goes, they couldn't charge me with being an accessory to murder because in the state of Missouri, that's not a thing. And I was like, that's wrong.
That's
And
very wrong, because
Yeah.
that wasn't your accessory to murder. Is like you pulling up to my house and being like, I got 2 shovels, come with me. And I'm like, all right. And we start digging, and then you pull out a body, and then
like
now
the
you're
murder
accessory to murder.
the murder already occurred. You were just helping hide the body or helping plan it, but you didn't actually commit it.
Right. Like, if you look at this case as like a murder for hire case, that's what it is. The people who do that, who hire for murder, they are charged with murder because that's what they may not be the murderer,
the person who murdered, but
they're the one who wants the murder to happen.
Right.
They're not an accessory. They are the planner, the mastermind.
Which again is like, why did they not get equal sentencing? Why did he get life while she only got 10 years? I think I think we had talked about it maybe off podcast, but you said that they kind of really relied on her trauma, that she was abused her entire life. So that's why they gave her a lesser sentence, whereas he has valuable background as well, because he literally was on the spectrum. And I think she used that as manipulation. And so I do not think he should have gotten life. I really don't.
No.
So I don't think that's fair. And I feel my heart breaks for him, because I think he needed help. I think he needed serious therapy in order to be put into I do. I think he is one of those people who just needed serious help, and instead he found Gypsy, and they just both went down a really bad path. Like
but yeah, and then in this podcast is the whole don't put labels on me comments. She's out of prison now, so she wants to like reinvent herself. But if you truly wanted to do that, why are we doing a press tour?
The two do not correlate. You're basically wanting to do a press tour but reinvent yourself. So you're literally wanting to create a whole new life for yourself, ignoring everything else, but only have a press tour because of everything else. Like they just don't work. You can't have one without the other.
Yeah. So, and then insert the husband. This is where I want to get your opinions on her husband. What was your first impression?
I actually hadn't seen him. I'd seen like a face like of the two together. I hadn't seen his whole persona, and I can understand why people are like, oh, that's her mom. Like, I could see that. I could see why they would think that. I don't know them well enough. I'm not going to sit here and judge their relationship. He gives me serious ick. And like, it was funny because my boyfriend was like on the other side. And it was funny. I was like, oh my God, you got to come see this guy. And instantly his face was like, I don't know. It's just like, I'm curious if anybody else out there who is very empathic.
Yeah, because I feel like you're more empathic than I am. So I wanted to get your vibes on it.
I don't have good vibes.
No.
I don't think he's good for her. Again, it's hard because I don't want to judge their relationship. I don't know them. But judging a person by how they look is almost impossible. But their mannerisms, the way he like holds himself.
Yeah. For me, it was the hand holding. If you look on the podcast, his hand is holding. Her hand is just sitting in his hand.
Interesting. I didn't pick that up. I don't think I was looking for that. That's very interesting.
Yeah. I just didn't. And then the whole ET interview was just ick. Just all
so
of it
bad.
was ick.
So bad.
Ick vibes.
I hated it. And like, and so now it's like, I don't know. I just don't like like I said, I was Team Gypsy until I saw these videos. And like I said, it's not a good look. It's not a good look, girl. It's not. What you're doing right now is not a good look. And I don't know what you expect to get out of this, because if you're publicist, if your publicist had any sense, they'd be like, shut the fuck up, go live your life, humble yourself. Because right now it's like, again, that victim mentality. I found myself very humble, and you know, I don't ever want to like over exceed. I'm always apologizing. You have that mentality, and it's really hard to, I'm not saying you should apologize all the time. You know, we shouldn't apologize all the time, but it's like, It's not a good look. I get if you want to be like, okay, I'm a survivor and I went past this. I don't know.
But I don't get those vibes from
No,
that. Like,
I don't either. I don't either.
I don't get victim vibes. I don't get survivor vibes.
Mm-mm.
I don't get
I'm living my best
life.
like
rehearsed mumbo jumbo to promote stuff. That's what I got.
Yeah. You know what I get? I got it.
What?
She got away. She got away with it. Those are the vibes I get. That's it.
The confident,
I got away with it and now I'm living my best life.
Yeah.
That's not a lot different than the person who went into jail. Or maybe it's not. Maybe she just has me fooled. That was not the person I thought who went to jail, and now she's very, but that is I just pinpointed. That's definitely the vibes I'm getting right now. It's like, I got away with it. I'm going on a press tour. Look at me. Like, that's not the vibes you're supposed to be getting off right now, woman. Like,
I guess it is like not a victim mentality. Just the way that she like describes her quote unquote trauma, like her, like in the View interview about like her scars and stuff. Like,
I had to look at those and live with everything that happened to me. Like, it's just not.
It's not genuine. Is
right.
that what I'm looking for?
Yeah. No,
genuine.
Absolutely.
Which,
and I mean, I don't want to I don't say it's a victim blaming. I don't want to judge somebody for how they deal with their trauma and how they live through it. If that's really truly how she's deciding to kind of push through this, and this is just really her way of coping with something, but it just doesn't look genuine. It doesn't look good. And I don't know, like, do we judge people for coping different ways? Like, maybe this is just how she copes.
And like her comments of like, I'm just being me. And we're like, we see that. I've known that you were just being you this entire time.
What do you guys think? I mean, we gotta say, like, what are your thoughts in this situation? Like, do you feel like she is?
Yeah.
Are we being too harsh on her? Are we being too nice for her? Like, what do you guys think?
What do y'all think? Like, I feel bad for the child that she was. I feel bad for the child that had to go through all of those things with no one to turn to, and how lonely that must have been. But the way that she dealt with things and the way that she dealt with them after those things, I fully cannot agree with. I just manipulation station. Yep. I can't not see it.
And I guess the only reason why I was at all on her side on these things is because I have seen, being raised by a narcissist, mine wasn't as bad as others. I have seen people repeat the behavior. There's some percentage that, like, if you're a narcissist, it's like 75% that your child will also be one. Like, it's a gene that's like, I don't know if it's a gene that's passed down, but you see behaviors and you replicate them and you use them and you become them.
It's the whole nurture versus nature thing.
And I genuinely feel like that is who she was. She is just, that's who she was raised to be, and that's who she is. I would have liked the jail time to humble her a little bit more and come out. That's what I would have liked to see, is like being an advocate for people who have suffered through Munchausen's and really being humble about it and taking not this party girl who's just really super stoked she got out of prison. Like, that's another thing, is like, so she says that she wants to be the spokesperson, but I feel like not a single one of her interviews did she mention like, it,
her plans for it, like what she plans on doing, like
it was all about her. It was all about
her and like the documentary and her ebook, and it's just like, I don't know. All
it's
bad
not a good
vibes.
look. It's not a good look.
Anywho, let us know your guys' opinion, for real.
And did you like this? Like, should we add this to the rotation where we just take a week where we like talk about something super relevant, and like, I mean, it's a different format, but do you guys like it?
Yeah.
Like, let us know. Give us some feedback. Yeah. Cool. So, I mean, that's it for this episode, unless you had anything else to...
I don't think so. I think I got it all out.
Well, if you do enjoy the podcast, don't forget to follow us, leave a comment. If you're watching on YouTube, hi, make sure you like, subscribe, hit the little alert button, and it'll let you know when our things go live. I think we're going to start posting on the weekends again, so do it.
You can also find us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok with our username at TTATA Podcast, where in the bio of all of our social media is our link tree, which has our email on it if you have any questions, comments, concerns. Apparently Lily does not like my notes, so she's making her comments known.
Love it.
Hit us up, let us know topic ideas, whatever.
Do it. So thanks for listening, guys. Next week we're gonna be covering horrifying history.
Ooh.
Always a fun one.
No idea what I'm gonna do.
I don't either. It's gonna be fun. And with that, we're gonna leave you with this inspirational quote.
Try to be a rainbow in someone else's cloud by Maya Angelou.
Yeah.
I was gonna do your thing and don't care if they like it, but I feel like that's too Gypsy Rose, so we don't want to be like her.
Was that Gypsy Rose who said it? No.
No.
Does sound like very much like Gypsy Rose. Anyway, thanks for listening again, guys.
Until next time.
Bye.